But are we in a bubble, or was this just the sell-off, that is, just a temporary blip? That's the exact question that we asked in an all-star panel. Bombay Stock Exchange member Ramesh Damani caught up with top fund managers S. Narain, Nilesh Shah, Anu Bhaskar and Navneet Munot to discuss exactly that, the current market trend and the changing dynamics around the world and its impact on the equity markets. Here are this excerpt of this insightful conversation.
When you are doing managing other people's money and you have a bubble, it's very bad. So I would say that we don't have a bubble situation. Having said that, from a sentiment point of view, things had been overextended. So I would not call this yet a bubble. So the chance for me of a 50% correction look highly unlikely. Having said that, can you have corrections from here over the next 12 to 18 months? It's quite possible. Will you have a 2008 style correction? Certainly not. Are large caps likely to correct much lesser than small and mid caps? The answer is yes. And I feel that people are underinvested in debt based on what I see. So from a mutual fund point of view, it looks very simple that they should get investors into debt, and they have not been investing in debt for the past few years.
S&P earnings are going from $136 to $172 in the next 2 years. Japan has recorded 20 months of uninterrupted growth, the longest it has. Europe is bouncing back. America, the animal spirits have been unleashed. Do you really see a bear market or a recession developing with such good economic news coming, or has that all been factored in, you think, already?
So some part of it is already factored in. There are two ways to look at it. So on one side, everything that you mentioned, I mean, unemployment rate globally is at the lowest level in history. I mean, the consumer confidence, you look at the PMI data, the capex cycle is just starting, the fiscal expansion is starting from US, the tax reforms in US, they're brought down, there would be a race to the bottom by most of the other countries. So there are all of these positives, but a part of it is already there. My fear about US and other markets is that in US, as you mentioned about the S&P earnings, if you extrapolate this quarter's earnings, they will almost touch 11% of GDP next year. This is the highest in like history. The corporates never made as much money. And actually, if you add the tax benefit next year from 35 to 21% and the fiscal spending next year, actually it goes up even more. At some point in time, it is going to create some political backlash somewhere. I think the wages will rise, labor will ask for higher wages,
share, yeah.
And that will lead to probably higher rates and will have problem on the corporate profitability side. As of now, it's very difficult to think for the analyst and market because the human brain thinks in a linear fashion. I mean, because you look at the number today and you talk to companies on a bottom-up basis and then you add the tax benefit, it looks too rosy. But can corporates get all the the entire pie, the economic pie? The interesting part about India is that, and I think what will support our market if we get a little bit of more correction, which I think we get, is that we are at a completely other extreme. So while we have fully participated in the global equity market rally, we have not participated at all in the global growth momentum and the profit cycle.
Talk to me about, say, why did you pick Eicher when you picked Eicher? You made
we picked it for the wrong reasons. Now one can say that we bought it only for the truck business, and we were actually pleading with the management to sell the motorcycle business. So saying that
honest fund manager, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
same here. So I mean, we had a large bet on Eicher, and till a long time, I mean, Vasan never agreed that motorcycle can be like so big.
Seriously. So I mean, at around 2,500, we sold off almost a third of our position, and to date, I keep on telling that fund manager who gave me that suggestion to lighten up on Eicher, saying that this is your cause. So I think you bought it because at that point of time the cash was equal to the market cap, and it was a profit-making company with a business which was growing at a pace faster. And our bet was that it will become the number 2 company in truck manufacture in 5 years' time, which it never has and never will. So that goes for forecasting or trying to see the future. And then the motorcycles came, and almost every idiot in India wanted to buy a Royal Enfield, and the rest is history.
Are you seeing any parallels between the fall we had in 2007-8 and the 2018 fall that we're going through right now? Do you see any parallels there?
So 2008 fall was from 21,000 to 8,000. This one is from 36,000 to 34,000. If you are calling this a fall, then I'm a bit surprised.
Trajectory. Doesn't the trajectory look dissimilar?
Still, Ramesh, the trajectory 36 to 34 is a correction. it's not a fall.
No, I agree with you. I also think it's a correction in a bull market, but a lot of fund managers feel that we've topped out as we topped out 2000. They're anticipating it. I mean, that's what we do. We're anticipating that it's going to recover or not recover. So what's your view? That's all.
So one, if we had ability to predict top, we would have predicted 21,000 top correctly. None of us have done that. In fact, one of the very famous broker at 21,000, he had predicted 25,000, and 8,000 he had predicted 6,000. And on both sides, he was being welcomed by the market. So let's accept the limitations that we don't have ability to predict future. We have to buy good companies and continue to hold on to them. Bottom up, every single company which we have met in last 3 months, they are all talking about better business outlook, capacities are improving in terms of utilization, margins are improving, and despite high real interest rates in overvalued currency, the companies which are doing well are looking hopefully to the future. So we are now in a slightly different conundrum compared to 2017. 2000 top down looking good, bottom up not looking so good. 2018 bottom up looking good, top down not so looking good.
How did PNB happen? I mean, what happened? What's your feeling about that? I mean, how does someone walk away with 17,000 crores? How worried are you about that? Let me ask you that. How worried are you about
We are always worried. I mean, if every day as scale increases and technology improves, it's so easy to do one swift key for 10,000 crore. And the problem is, some of us at our age, we don't understand technology to the same extent. So I think that's the other problem. I don't know whether everyone who is above 55 understands how a SWIFT key operates, and they are the people who are chairman and EDs of all the banks. So I guess these kind of things worry us.
What are the investment implications for it? I mean, does that color your judgment against PSU banks? PNB has by some accounts 2 lakh crores owed to depositors. So how does that change your investment hypothesis?
Structurally, it is never easy to buy some of the weaker PSU banks. For example, PNB we didn't have, luckily. I would say luckily, because even if we thought there was an improvement, we decided we would play it through some other public sector bank.
Navneet, let me ask you the same question. I mean, you work in, SBI. Does SBI have to buy out PNB to finish this saga? Is there any other option that left?
I hope it doesn't happen.
Well, it's logical, right? I mean, if you think
I
about
don't
it.
think that it's the survival of PNB at stake. I don't think, we have seen some of these frauds happening over the years.
No,
Of
wait,
course,
let
the
me get
scale
back
is
one
bigger,
second.
but I don't think that depositors will run to PNB and withdraw.
Maybe they should. There are 30,000 crores.
And the whole industry is owning so much of the 81 bonds, which are the next after the equity. They should get a lot more worried before the
Which bonds?
The tier 1 bonds,
Yeah.
which some of these PSU banks have issued. So before the depositors, they need to get a lot more worried.
There you have it, none other than some of the biggest market voices giving us their views, their concerns, as well as their outlook for the equity markets, large caps, and of course, the all-important banking space. Speaking of